All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Brian McLogan, and this is another version of Open Live Q&A. And excited to be back with you on a time frame that I have not gone live in probably over a year. So it is my 9 o'clock time slot. And one thing I was talking with my wife, if you've caught on some of my recent live streams, you might have noticed that my kids might be crying or they might be yelling or screaming in the background. It's the things that happens. And it's also been tough, on Sundays going in live at different times. And so I got away from the 9 p.m. because when I went live on the 9 p.m., I would just be exhausted. And I would also think about my live stream throughout like the whole kind of weekend. And I don't know, even though like there's not a ton of production that goes into doing these live streams, it would always be just one thing that was just like on top of my mind. So I like the idea of going live early, kind of getting it out of my way, and then I can just kind of enjoy and relax. But then it kind of came to me thinking, really the best time for me and my family, and then also a time that I can be consistent and go live each and every time with you guys would be at 9 p.m. So I want to be bringing this back. I am going to be consistent and go live each and every week here at 9 p.m. So if I don't make a live stream, I will make sure to let you guys know about it. I had to went ahead and like reset my computer. So everything off is actually I don't have my analytics going on. I can only just see the chat that you guys are coming up from on. So I will try to get with the chat. It is a little bit more delayed on my side, but there is something that a couple things I did want to bring up before I get into your guys' questions, as well as even some math questions that we did bring up. So one thing that I was also thinking about, I actually did a live stream last or 2 weeks ago on Monday, and it was one thing that I like keeping my Sunday live streams for my general math channel. But one thing that I have created is some Algebra 2 as well as a pre-calculus channel. I can't share the link right now because my Google Chrome is like rebooting at the moment. So once I get that up and running, I will go ahead and share those links. But one thing I wanted to do, because I am on those channels, I'm kind of doing some more in-depth videos that I'm making, a little bit more in-depth, like instructional videos, not so much as like my short ones that I have on this channel. But one thing I wanted to do was help students prepare, as we're going into your exam and asking them questions. Well, I don't want to, nor can I always go live on this channel. And those channels are much smaller, which I like. So there's not as many people on, there's not as much subscribers. But for those of you that have joined on in this live stream, if you are interested in checking out the content right now, I'm just kind of posting a lot of shorts, and I'm working into getting some of the longer instructional videos are coming on. So I'm working on that. But if you'd like to join the live stream, I think I'm going to plan on doing a live stream tomorrow night in the pre-calculus channel. And then I'll look into even possibly doing one on Tuesday for the Algebra 2, or I might be alternating it. We'll see how it goes. I might do one on Monday, tomorrow for pre-calculus. I will make sure I post it in my community notes. So when I decide, I haven't decided exactly what I want to do. But I think I'm going to do at least every Monday. I will do a stream either with pre-calculus or with Algebra 2. And so therefore, if you're taking one of those classes, just like we do a live stream here, you can submit your questions, or you can just hop on and ask any questions that you have, and I'll be more than happy to go ahead and answer them. So that's something I'm excited about. Again, I will make sure I post a link in my community post because I don't know where my Google Chrome is not going up here, working on it for now, but that's okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into some of the questions that you guys have in the chat. If you have a general question, feel free just to post it into the chat. If you have a math question, though, then go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. I'll get that link posted up here. It is also posted in the chat. It's a pinned comment as well as in the description of this video. So you can just use that link to go there and submit a math question. The reason why I like having math questions submitted rather than just answering them from the chat is because then I can bring it onto my whiteboard, and it's a lot easier for me to kind of work through things. And unfortunately, guys, I can't go through every single question, but I will try to do my best. If you have some generic one, then put it into the chat, and I will try to make sure I can see if I can get it answered for you guys. All right, so let me go and get that link up there for you. I don't know why I closed it. Oh, I know why I closed it down, because I was making a video with this. So let's go and see. Where did I put that? See what that link is. There you go. No, that's pre-calculus exam. You guys don't want to do that. Have a question. There you go. There you go. Have a question. Go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. Go and check it out. All right. Now let's get into some of your guys' questions. And then after this, I have some math questions that you guys submitted using that link, and I will get to some of those as well. Come on, work. There we go. Well, hey, Cuban. Let's see. I don't know why that always messes up. Every single video, it's like it has to change. That's so weird. So we'll get that addressed. That right from on there. Human. All right. Hey, Ara. Good to have you on again. Hey, Braden. Good to have you on. Cyberlord. Hey, Mr. McLogan. How do you know if a graph is linear, exponential, or logarithmic? Well, so if you're looking into an exponential or like a linear equation, obviously you can look at like the general form. And the one thing that's important when we're dealing with a linear function is you're going to have a variable, and it's going to be we're going to have a variable, typically a variable x, and it's going to be raised to the power of 1. Two forms that we look into for linear equations, if you can write it like in y equals mx plus b form, but you have that x raised to that first power, or you could also look into it as standard form, like ax plus by is equal to c. Now we're dealing with an exponential. That is going to have like y equals, b raised to the x. So you're going to have a base. So you're going to have a variable you're going to have a constant, but it's going to be raised to your variable x. And then logarithmic is really going to be, you're going to be either having a log or a ln as your function in that regard. The graphs of those are all going to be different. Like obviously linear is going to be a line, and then exponential and logarithmic are actually inverses of each other. So, but you can kind of look at those graphs and kind of see those kind of characteristics that they have. Johnny Boy 556. I remember when you did math problem tutorials. They saved me in high school 6 years ago. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, when I was a teacher, I would do math tutorials every single day, and I'd upload them. And so I still do math tutorials, but I do like a little bit more of a twist on there. But yes, I'm so happy to be able to help you out. And thanks for joining on the stream. 6 years later, you probably maybe are taking a math class, maybe you're not, but I'm glad I can help you out. Craft. Yo, you're the GOAT. I always struggle with my math, and all the time you help me and give me understanding. Well, awesome. I'm so happy to be able to, provide, videos that can meet you where you're having some trouble, and to be able to help bridge the gap for your misunderstanding. And I think it's really important to keep on putting in that work and, trying to understand things. And sometimes you just need somebody to say something a couple more times, or maybe in a little bit different way, for all the things to click. So kudos to you for putting in the work and trying to understand the material. I'm really happy that I've been able to help you out, but I'm also happy to see that you're making some gains. I think that's awesome. Blinders, thank you very much. You are very helpful. I was reading my mechanical measurements, probability in statics, and differential equations. Sounds like you have some fun. But James Coleman, it's been a long time since you've been on stream, so I'm happy, or maybe you've been on and haven't commented, but I appreciate you hopping on, and it's good to hear from you. How do you do half angle formula questions? So those can be, there's a lot of different ways we can go with that. So if you have I didn't lose my thing, did I? Oh, that's my Google popping up. So on the half angle formulas, the best thing to do is go and submit it to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, so I can kind of go off of where you're having trouble. And when you do that submission, you can also like write in maybe some of your questions. I would say usually the biggest issue that I have with half angle formulas with students is going to be like the plus or minus, when to do that for the sine and cosine. But most of the time it's really just plugging and chugging into those formulas. Like there's not much of a variation from on there. All right. Sorry, I cannot read your name. I apologize. But what's your advice for someone with ASD who struggles with word problems, but prefers more prefers more stuff with numbers and equations, etc., rather than deciphering word prompts. So you're not alone. I don't. I think if you can. Um, so you're not alone. I think if you can talk to anybody, majority of people will say like they do not like word problems. I can agree with you. I do not like word problems. So I don't think there's anything wrong with you. Word problems are difficult. And even my daughter, like I was working with her, she's in second grade and she's going through word problems and she like hates the word problems. Like she knows how to do the general math, but then once you have to read through things and kind of dissect it, it just becomes difficult. And it's like everything that you know how to do like doesn't make sense when you put it together in like a word problem sometimes. Like it just can kind of like overly confuse things. So I get it. I completely understand. And I think that there's an element of things that, we want to make sure you're comfortable with, like, doing some more practice with word problems. And I really believe just kind of like factoring quadratic students always ask me like, how do I get better at factoring? And it's like practice. The more practicing you do with quadratics, the better you get at your number sense with understanding the relationships and the patterns. Dealing with word problems is the exact same thing. Like if you're only doing a couple examples from what your teacher is, and I understand it, like even if it's very, very difficult for you, if you're only doing a couple examples, you can't expect to be a master or good at word problems, right? So I would just recommend trying to do some more practice with them. But then also understand like you don't need to be the best at everything, right? If you understand a lot of your math stuff, but word problems are still going to struggle, that's fine. Maybe put in a little bit extra work onto the word problems, but don't burden yourself of like, you have to be the absolute best with all of the word problems. Like understand what is good enough. And I think that's okay. I don't think everybody needs to be excellent at dealing with word problems and going from on there. And that's okay. So understand what is your level of good enough and put in the necessary practice to get to that point. Araf, did you ever change the difficulty of your assessments you gave based on the student's level? I'm teaching a class right now, and it seems like my kids aren't quite at the level that they need to be at. So do you think I should? That's an interesting question. So no, I don't think I ever changed the level. I think it's really important to kind of have a standard, and if anything, to be raising that standard. However, there would definitely be assessments that I would give, and students would bomb it. And that would be for multiple reasons. It could have been my instruction. It could have been the pacing that was going on. It could have been like the scheduling that we had. So I always took responsibility for that. And I would always give students an option. Like I'd always give opportunities to the students to be able to improve their grades and to get that understanding that they needed to. But I'm just a believer of having high standards and giving students support to reach those standards. And sometimes, yeah, for different classes and for different students, there's more support and there's more things that can be done to get them to that level. But I don't think I'd fully agree with like changing the difficulty or lowering my standards for a class unless there's some external factors that I can attribute of why these students, need a variation. But I don't think I ever did that. I always kept what the standard was, what they needed to. And if they weren't able to meet it, then I always looked at different ways I could do to help them get to that level of standard. Hey, so I'm in 8th grade, taking regular math, 8th grade right now, but I'm learning geometry on ALEKS. I finished Algebra 1 with relative ease, but it's starting to get harder studying harder stuff. Tips. Yeah, I mean, geometry is completely, I wouldn't say completely different, but a lot of it is very different than Algebra 2. So you're learning geometry right now in a different way that you're learning your Algebra 1. So I think that's good. I think that's awesome. I would say to continue it. But if you're still having some like difficulties understanding the stuff, like don't feel bad, right? You're taking your algebra 1 or you're doing your geometry. And like, you're not going through the same regular instruction, at least as my understanding is, then that would expect you to be able to learn that geometry. So math is not a race. Take your time, have some fun, like challenging yourself. That's good. That's a part of the learning process. Like if you're going to get stronger and better, you're going to have some challenges. So I don't say anything wrong with it. I would say, keep on doing that, but don't overwhelm yourself with frustration of trying to learn something on the Alex program. Like just allow your brain some time to make sure that you're learning the material that you need to be learning, and then sprinkle in some stuff to be challenging you, right? And I don't know, as far as on your curriculum, like in general math 8, like what geometry topics you're going to have, or if that's going to come into when you become a freshman. Um, so, I would say push yourself, but just don't over push yourself. Like allow the natural progression for your brain to understand the material and to do well. So I think it's awesome. You're getting ahead of yourself. I think that's great. Just don't feel like you have to continually be pushing yourself, or that you can't understand things, when you get to points that are frustration. So do you have any final tips for SAT math? I mean, my biggest tip would just be, I even actually got a GRE review book. It's not SAT math, but it's the same idea. Like get as many review books, topics, like practice exams that you possibly can, and do as much as you can, right? If you're going to try to take the GRE, or if you're going to take the SAT or the ACT or the JREE or the GSCE, like there's tons of these papers and older practice exams. Go through as many of those as possible. That is the best way to prepare you for those types of assessments, in my opinion. There's a lot of like little tricks and everything else that, people will teach, and those will come up once in a while. But I just think the main thing to do is like practice how those questions are asked, to practice the type of questions that you're going to see, and just be consistent with that every single day. Put in your time. And by the time you get to your test, I'm telling you, you're going to have a lot more confidence in approaching the problems and taking the test. Tanya Williams, what will be the time? I'm currently taking pre-calc trig in college. I'm a math major. Well, awesome. I'm looking to do it 9 o'clock. So it'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And my thing is up. So yeah, we're definitely going to do pre-calc. And I will have a Google form. I'll make sure I put that on my channel page. But I'll make sure I put that on my channel page. What's it called? My channel. I can't think of it. I don't know, on my channel where I have like community posts. There we go. I'll have that link on my community post for you guys to go ahead and find it. And if I can get to this, then I'll show you guys as well. Well, hey, Muhammad, good to have you on. Just curious, did you get a chance to look at my question from a couple of weeks ago? I'm actually doing one of yours, and that was like an interesting solution. I'm not sure if that's the one you're referring to. It didn't seem as hard as the other one that you had, but unless I'm missing something. But yeah, I was going to go over that one. I didn't see anything else, I think, that dropped up, but let me know if that's the one. Just to be clear, a lot of word problems, the math I understand and is straightforward. However, being able to understand and getting lost in the details is hard. I wish it was straight up algebra. I think everybody, I think most people would agree with you 100%. It's difficult. It's not easy stuff. It takes a lot of time to kind of comprehend what the math is. And I think sometimes I would agree, like even our math instruction is not the best because of that. Where students can understand the algebra, but then sometimes we make a word problem just to make a word problem. And I think that really, really over confuses students, especially when they're learning. Because yeah, knowing how to do word problems is important. Knowing how to break one down and do the algebraic process in a word problem, I think is very, very important. However, I think also sometimes we just like, and especially in math curriculum text, it's like we create a word problem just to create a word problem. And I don't think that's always, the best case. But yeah, focus on knowing your algebra skills. Focus on that, number one. And I would just kind of say, like, what's the level you need to know for what's good enough at your word problems, and put in the work to get to that level. And then just, don't overwhelm yourself with it. All right. I was able to get it in here now. We'll go to my pre-calculus. All right. Oh, Beckett, I had a really crappy ACC Algebra 2 teacher who refused to help us with problems. Sorry about that. But your videos will always help me understand the topic around. Just want to say thank you for everything. Well, you're very welcome. And yeah, my goal when I was creating this channel was to create as many topics of math tutorials as I possibly could. So no matter where students were, they always had some kind of resource. And that's what I'm still kind of continuing to do on this channel, is continually creating content over a variety of channels to help you guys out. So I'm so happy to be able to be there for you. Cheers. All right. Ooh, I think I had a video. I'm not sure if I just went off on tips on video on law sines, law cosines. Maybe check that out. Now you got me confused, but now I have to go and take a look. But either before I go and do that, let me go and post a link of my YouTube channel. There we go. All right. So for those of you that are interested, I'm going to do a live stream next Monday. I'm probably going to continue the Mondays and then just alternate it between Monday, pre-calculus and algebra 2. So therefore, if you are getting ready for your final exam, I'll have some questions kind of curated, ready to go. And then also I'll have a link where you guys can submit questions as well to me. But we'll just focus on pre-calculus topics in that case. So if you are interested in checking out that live stream, it'll be the same kind of thing here. I'm assuming though, since that channel is very, very small, probably not going to have many people on there. So which is great. So therefore you'll have much more of time to hang out with me. But there's a link. I just posted in the chat for those of you guys that are interested. All right. Oh yeah, let me see if I find that tips. Because I did I know I did a video. I'm not sure if I posted it though yet. So let me go and see for you real quick while I'm pulling this up. I already switched account. Let's go to Studio. Because I know it was like tips for law sines, law cosines. So if I can find that one. Unfortunately, guys, I have 14,000 videos. So the search bar is my best thing for, let's see. Tips for law sines. Yeah, it is public. I'm not even going to answer the question because that was 16 minutes I made for that video. So here we go. All right. Where was your question? Who was that? There you go. BZ Gamer. All right. Your question, your video, or the video for you, is in the description. I went kind of in detail in that video, so me responding to your comment wouldn't even do it justice. So hopefully you can watch that video and let me know if that helps out. All right. Now let's see here. As a math teacher, have you branched into physics, engineering, etc.? Also, how difficult was those other courses for you compared to normal math classes? I'm currently taking differential equations, dynamics, physics 2. No, I never branched into really physics and engineering. I did contemplate going into like an engineering field, but I just didn't really love doing a lot of the math that I had to do. Like I really love like kind of that pure math aspects and like the theoretical approach of things. I don't really enjoy actually doing math, even though like as a math teacher, that's what I'm doing every day. And like even making math videos, that's what I'm doing every day. But yeah, I just didn't really love doing heavy math. And with physics, it was kind of the same thing. I didn't really like that applied mathematics portion of it. So it never really interests me at all. So I just decided, I thought those would be like natural fits for me, but I ended up understanding about myself that no, they weren't. And so I just stayed the course with my math major and focused on teaching. Yes, I can agree. How can I get better at thinking questions? My test in Algebra 2, which I have these hard problems or extra non-learned out of the box questions we have on our test, only hard part of the test for me. Yeah, you got to practice. You got to practice, challenge yourself. Students always ask, like, how can I get better? Well, practice the fundamental stuff. Like, right, you should be doing over and over and over, practice those fundamentals. But then you also have to practice challenging yourself. You have to practice those problems that you've never seen before that make you think, right? And especially if you're always like going online and like searching the answer and not having your brain go through that process of that frustration and that struggle, it's going to be very difficult for you to think through those problems on a test. So I recommend to you to go through the struggle, right? Practice those hard problems. There's tons of examples online or in the back of your textbook, whatever you can find, focus on challenging yourself. And I think the more practice you get with that, the easier those problems will become, or at least you'll just learn how to think when you are not prepared for a problem and what it's asking. Also, another thing that I find difficult is I ask too much questions on why things work in math. I don't like memorizing stuff, and it bugs me. I use ChatGPT a lot of why things work. Yeah, I think that's really good for you to make connections. And I think the problem with a lot of our math education is we focus so much on teaching so many things that we don't really always develop those relationships with students on not so much always on how things work, but also how they're connected to so many different things. And, from a teacher, like those are obviously important things that you always try to incorporate in your lessons. But also there's a reality of you have so much content that you need to, teach to the students by the end of the year. It becomes difficult, right? And it becomes a challenge in that regard. So I think that stuff is really, really important. And I think if we can reduce the number of topics that we are constantly teaching for in each, kind of course, that would allow some of those deeper meanings and deeper understandings to really take place inside the classroom. I did send a math problem. Okay, cool. I'll see if I have time at the end. I'll be able to go through it. How can students email you that they struggle with solving? I have tried emailing you, but I got an error message, and that's what is the approximate time of reply? I have no idea. If you try to email me, I don't respond really to emails with questions. So if you have a question, then the best way to reach me or for me to look at it would be to submit it at brianmclogan.com/Q&A. I make a lot of silly mistakes while doing math. Is there any way to prevent this? Appreciate your efforts. I make a lot of silly mistakes too. So congratulations, we're in the same boat. A couple things that work with me and that I have done and that I still do is one, I always show my work. I show all the steps that I'm doing. I try to always avoid mental math because when I do mental math, things get a little mixed up in there and then I will write down the wrong thing. It just happens, or I'll think the number and then I'll write that number down or write the wrong number down. It just happens. So I always try to show my work. And one, that helps me mathematically go through the problem correctly. But then two, when I have time or if I have time to go back and check my work, that always allows me to go back and see exactly what I did. So I think that's very, very helpful. And a lot of times when I'm showing my work, it's very easy to you can check, spot check your work and be able to identify you found a mistake or not. I think the other thing is trying to slow down, take some time to take some breathers. Like a lot of times if I'm making mistakes, especially when teaching, you're talking and you're thinking about all these other things and then you're doing the math, it's so easy to make a mistake. So just try to slow down, focus, especially when you're taking a test, you have a lot of stress, anxiety, and timing. So just try to do your best, maybe close your eyes, take 3 breaths, go slow and then reset yourself and then continue working. And then I think the third thing that, that was my 3 things. Yeah. Show your work. Oh yeah. Oh, and always go back to if you can check your work. I thought I had 3 things. I thought I made a video on this. I don't know. Maybe I forgot. Maybe it was a live stream question. I answered this. But silly mistakes. I think you focus on those. What I said for that, you'll be all right. Hey, happens all the time. Students still make those mistakes. Algebra 1 through calculus. Don't worry. Can a student skip algebra 2 and go straight to pre-calculus? They can, but there's a lot of algebra 2 that's expected for you to know in pre-calculus. So if you are doing that, I would highly recommend you are very, very comfortable with the topics in algebra 2 because not all the topics in Algebra 2 are covered in Algebra 1, right? There's a lot of good foundational stuff that we want to make sure you're prepared for before you get to pre-calculus. And it's also not so much of just like, have you been exposed to those, but there's also a maturity, point of view on this. And so I do really think it's important to have gone through an Algebra 2 curriculum before you get into a pre-calculus, because pre-calculus really builds upon on that. But that's not to say that's true for everybody. And you might be at a position where you might be able to make that jump. But I would say for the majority of students out there, that would not be a good idea. My best friend is getting his master's in accounting, and he also is possibly going to get a teaching license so he can teach accounting to future accountants. Awesome. While working as a salary. Well, that's cool. I think that's awesome. I am so confused with graphs. Can you please make a detailed video on it? I have no idea what types of graphs you are referring to. So if you have a specific question or a specific graph you want me to talk about, then submit it to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I'll do my best. I'm trying to best memorize the unit circle. Any tips to help me out? So I actually have a video coming up for you actually for the next 8 weeks. It's all about the unit circle and understanding it. I do have a video. About memorizing the unit circle or what you need to know, but it's not for like 3 weeks out. So I don't really push my memberships, but I am going to keep it as like I have everything under the membership thing. So if you join as a member, you'll be able to access that. Otherwise, it's going to be posted, I think that's week 4. Week 4 I have from those videos. So tomorrow will be the first one on week 1. And you can just follow through, on it. But if you don't want to wait, I would just maybe consider joining the membership. You can get a low cost membership, and you can cancel at any time. So that would just be my best advice if that's something you're looking for. Because there's some certain things that you can do to help out with that, but I don't really love memorizing the unit circle. So when you see those videos and going through it as I break it down from a whole perspective, it will hopefully make a lot more sense to you. Dylan, just started college, going into a lot of math classes. Wanted to let you know your videos have helped me so much over the past year. Well, awesome. So happy to help you out, and best of luck. Awesome. Good to have you on. I have my AP pre-calc exam in May. Any advice to prep? I have 5 other APs plus a SAT to prep for. So unfortunately, I am really busy. Holy crap. Yes, you are. So I never took the AP pre-calc, or I never taught the AP pre-calc version. I think I stepped away from classroom just before that. So I don't have all my resources are perfectly aligned with that. But yeah, I think just time management is going to be your best friend. Try to focus on studying for certain, courses, a day, not trying to study for everything, but just kind of like maybe pick a day, and then each day that's what you're separating your time, and you're trying to focus in on that. And you don't have a lot of time, right? I mean, I know you're still learning in those courses, but now you need to start reviewing. You need to start doing some prepping. It's a lot. You're taking a lot of APs. I know it's a lot, and you're going to feel really, really good once this is over. But right now it's crunch time, and you got to put in the work. This is what you signed up for, and it's going to be a lot of work. But you know what? I know you signed up for it, and you've gotten to this point that I know you can do it. So put in that work. Just really try to budget your time. And best of luck. And man, June is going to feel really good for you. Yeah, I just don't want my kids to think I'm trying to ruin their grade and hate me for it. I'm just trying to get them to be used to the rigor of an honors pre-calc class, because me and other teachers agree. Yeah, I agree. And I think what you need to do is let them fail, let them see what you are trying to get them to, but then also give them opportunities to improve their grade, give them opportunities to get that learning. But you got to show them what they are striving to. You got to show them where you need them to be. And then, give them support, right? You got to be able to get these students there. And for whatever reason, it could be their fault or not their fault of why they are struggling in the course. So give them that support, give them the path that they need to follow, give them the opportunities to improve their grade, but keep that bar where it is. Keep it or raise it. Do you have a video on solving 3 variable equations with fractions? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, fractions, just get rid of it. Multiply whatever is in the denominator, multiply that whole equation by that number, and then you're done with the fractions. But yeah, I do have some 3-variable problems for sure. If I got a C in accelerated algebra 2, but having 98% A in normal algebra 2, should I continue on taking accelerated pre-calc in my junior year? So I'm not sure. Did you retake the course? I'm not really understanding it. But a 98% in my normal, I just don't know the difference between normal and accelerated from that case. I'm assuming there might be like semester or year long in there. That may be the course in that regard. I'm just not 100% sure. So my opinion, I would think like if you got a C in accelerated algebra 2 and then take an accelerated pre-calculus, it could be okay. But I think you're on the lower end of that spectrum of my confidence that you are going to extract everything that you need from pre-calculus. And then my other question for you is like, what's the end goal? Is it just to take pre-calculus? Is it to get an A or not pre-calculus? Is the goal after that to take calculus, take A, B, B, C, not to take calculus? Like, what's the goal of taking all these accelerated classes, right? And where is that going to put you into the calculus frame? Because in my opinion, taking the calculus is really kind of the more important thing. So do you really need to bust your butt and make sure you're in accelerated pre-calculus so therefore you can get to maybe taking calc A, B, B, C? I don't know. And if that really doesn't matter as an option, then why go through the rush of all those courses? I would just take it at a better pace and make sure you understand the information and get a good grade. Sergio. I'm assuming you say Sergio. That was actually when I took Spanish in 9th grade. That was my Spanish name, and Sergio. Have you made any videos that go deep into trig, more so full understanding how they work within questions such as derivatives? In calc 1 and trig questions are whooping my butt. Yeah, I do have a lot of trig videos, and if you go to my channel and go to calculus, you'll see a lot from derivatives, limits, integrals, everything with trig. So there's a lot of examples with that. So you can recommend, like, take a look at them. I mean, they're from my classroom, so some videos go more in depth than others, but hopefully there's a couple problems in there that will help you out. To clarify, those thinking questions I was talking about are typical math contest difficulty. My teacher doesn't pick curriculum-based thinking questions, and these questions aren't in the textbook. I get it. Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. Find math contest examples. There's tons of examples of problems like that. Tons of examples for math contests, and same thing, like work through those types of problems. If that's something that you want to, build that skill on, that's where you need to look. Should I get a math tutor or teacher for advanced math? I am not struggling, but I want to get better. Having a math tutor can be expensive. So I really just would kind of look at, where in your budget does it really kind of fall in? Obviously having a tutor can benefit you. Even if you're not struggling, they can really help challenge you and know where to kind of help you dive deep into your thinking and really understand things. And obviously if you are struggling, they can help in that regard as well. But it really depends on the expertise of that tutor or teacher. And then also there's a lot of free opportunities, a lot of free things as well. So I would just kind of see what you kind of work with best, and then also what you're willing to spend, right? Because you can do a lot of this on your own. It might take some more time, and it might not be as in depth, but you could also have an amazing tutor that knows exactly how to get you better at math, but they could also be very, very expensive. So there's a lot of questions and a lot of variables at play for there. And it really kind of comes in decision for you, your parents, and also what your teacher thinks. Maybe not your teacher. I don't know why your teacher would maybe think or care. I always supported students having extra help if that's something that they wanted to do. But yeah, your teacher might have some other resources, free resources as well to help you improve your grade. How can you find the range of rational and irrational function? Please help. If specific questions, go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. What is your background in mathematics? Where are you from, if you can share? Yeah, I am from Michigan. I went to Western Michigan University and I got my bachelor's of arts in mathematics. Well, I think it was in teaching with an emphasis on mathematics. I hate how they labeled it, but it was basically I had the same credits as my math, as a bachelor of arts in math. So yeah, that's what that was my degree. And then I moved down to Jacksonville, and that's where I currently taught for 14 years. And now that's where I reside. I have an honors pre-calculus final exam last week of June. When should I start studying? I would probably say, a good 30 days. Like, you don't want to overstudy where you're going to even forget the stuff you're studying. So I would say like a good 4 weeks is a good time frame. And, just make sure you're deliberate, have some good practice on there, and then ramp it up, and then give yourself a little break as you're preparing for the exam. So I'd probably say maybe 6 weeks if it's a lot of content. But 4 to 6 weeks is probably the sweet spot. Even the 6 to 4 weeks, you're just starting to get a lot of organized stuff, getting a lot of things prepared, and going from there. Kind of a weird question. I'm in first year engineering in Calc 2. Hasn't been too challenging, but I'm struggling a lot with learning how to code. See, any experience advice? I do not have any experience. I would just look at online resources and see what there's out. I'm sure there's something out there to help you out. I just don't have any experience in that field. I have a midterm in Calc in a couple of days, and I was wondering if you had any recommendations for studying. I love your videos. Well, not in a couple of days. Go through what hopefully your teacher has provided. Go through your tests, your quizzes, your homework, maybe a review guide. And I would just, put in the work, go through the motions, practicing problems that you've already done, practice problems where you got mistakes, make sure you understand where you got those mistakes. And then just really make sure you get a good night's sleep before your test. Focus, calm down and do the best you can do. My algebra 2, I remember, was big pain, but I used your videos and passed. Well, awesome. So happy to help you out. So I want to say thank you so much. You helped me understand so many little time. You are very welcome. Hey there, I'm no longer enrolled in any math classes, but you've helped me out through so many of my classes through high school and college. Saw you were live and just want to say thanks. Well, thank you so much, Seth. I think that's awesome. I love how YouTube will recommend to people like, hey, you watched this person like 6 years ago. Let's see if you're interested in their live stream. And you notice I actually haven't done any math yet. I actually have some math questions already prepared for you guys, but man, we just go through like an hour. Love taking your guys' questions. I don't know if I'll get to it. I'll maybe see if there's somebody's new. Oh shoot, I did. Dang it. I forgot. Somebody said they posted a new one. So I'll try to see if there's any new questions. I'll maybe try to get to those. How do you graph the inverse cosecant x plus 2 or cosecant? Submit exactly your equation if you have a function of it. Submit that to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and that'd be the best for me to look at that. Awesome. All right. Let me see if I can get to those questions. Yeah. Oh, and then just a reminder for those of you that were wondering, I love going live on this channel because I love you guys submitting so many different questions. The problem is if the stream goes on longer than an hour, I just don't have time to get through all the questions. So I have some math questions that I wanted to go over, but I don't know, you guys just answer always so many questions that it just takes up more time. So what I am going to do is let you guys know that in my live stream, I'm going to do another live stream on Monday. And on that Monday live stream, I am going to be doing more math. It's really going to be a lot more math rather than just like adding questions like I have here on this chat. So if you are interested in joining in on that stream, let me go and show you the link to my pre-calculus channel. So therefore you can go and subscribe, get the notification. So therefore you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. He said he was going live. And now that I know he's going live, Or you can also just check on my community channel, on my channel, and I'll post a link there as well. But the content is not there yet. I get it. I'm making some longer form content on there. So I am looking forward to adding some stuff or adding some newer videos on that. So more of that is to come. Right now, I'm just kind of playing around some stuff, mostly just adding a lot of shorts. But what do you mean? Does the membership go into detail as far as explaining? What exactly are you mean? Can you maybe rephrase that question? But yeah, so I'm gonna do another live stream tomorrow night at 9 p.m. And probably some of the questions that I'll have that Zoom, I'll have the Google link available. So therefore, if you guys want to submit questions to that, if you actually want to go through some more math problems, because it just becomes so difficult for me to be able to answer you guys' questions in the chat and then get to the math. And I know I could just get to the math, but I feel like so many people have so many questions all the time that you guys want to ask. It just, I want to make sure I can get to them, you know? And so I think going through the math live stream or putting the math on some of those algebra 2 and pre-calculus might be the best fit. So I know there was some questions that were submitted, so I'm going to try to get to them. But yeah, Tanya, I'm not sure exactly what you mean with the membership from there. So I do have membership because all my videos, as I'm making them, I do put them as members only before they get published. So if you want inside access to that content, that's what you get with the membership. But there's not any extra explanatory videos that are more in depth on my channel. It's really going to be the videos, but sometimes it might take weeks before those videos get published from there. Hey Jay, I do not have any videos on Taylor series. Sorry about that. How much? Thank you. All right, cool. So, I was thinking I was going to go over some math questions, but I'm like, oh man, I already went through so many. I went through so many questions. My brain's already fried. Now I don't want to do any math. So if you have any more questions that I can just answer from the stream, I'll take those. I do have like 10 math questions. I guess I could go probably backwards, and there's a couple of easy ones. We can go. Let me see if these. I have 163 questions on this Google form, so I'm like clicking my way through right now. So I'm trying to look at the questions that people are submitted, because I do like when people show up to the live stream and submit a question that I can answer the question if possible, rather than just like, hey, waiting for me to do a math problem that they submitted like a week ago. So let's see if I can help you out if you recently submitted a question. All right, now we're there. Busy gamer, law of sines, law of cosines. Oh, you did submit that, or you're the one that submitted the one on there. Find the area of the quadrilateral. I would need to break that one down. I'm not going to go through that on the live stream. I would need to look that one over. Johnny, I sent a picture problem my cousin needs help with. I sadly forgotten how to solve it. All right, well, Johnny, let's see if we can look at what you got. Calculate the missing length. All right, well, we can do this one. And then let me see. Then I'll see if I can go work my way up for you guys. Okay. There you go. Let me get this ready for you guys. All right, I'll get to you. I'm getting I kind of took a break. Now I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go. So we'll continue the stream. It's math time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and switch it over. All right. That is my channel. I don't know why when I copied and pasted that showed up. So we got Johnny, and Johnny says, I sent a picture. And let's see what Johnny's picture was. Sorry, I'm just copying and pasting it. But this is why I ask you guys to go ahead and do it. It's a lot easier for me to be able to do math showing it like this than I'm doing it another way. So copy. There you go. Probably don't need it to be that big. Cool. All right, let's see. Any other questions we got? I need to post in the date when these are sent because I don't remember. Suppose I pilot a function degree 4 with rational coefficients. That's finally given zeros. Finally, other zeros. Oh man, those are a good problem. I just don't have time to do those. Those are good questions though. Who is that? Math help Blakely? If you're still on, post a comment and I might be able to see if I can help you. That's a lot of math that I'm not sure if I want to do right now. All right, so let me get this and let me get my comments back up so therefore I can see you guys commenting and there's nobody spamming. Hello, can I believe you're seeing? Yes, you are seeing me in real time. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into the math side. All right, so for those of you that have maybe joined on, want to know, like, here's the math. I do a lot of the math. I'm part of the streams if I have time. It's 9 o'clock at night, so my whole family went to bed. So it's just me geeking out with you. But I am planning on doing some live streams next tomorrow on Mondays. Going to just do algebra 2 and calculus or pre-calculus. So tomorrow is going to be a pre-calculus one. Getting you guys prepared for your final exam. So if you guys are interested in that, that's good. All right, then join in. The link on my YouTube channel is right there. So Johnny, I sent a picture if the problem my cousin needs help with, and I sadly forgot how to solve it. Calculate the missing length x. All right, so we have a right triangle, so we know we can use Pythagorean theorem or our trigonometric functions. Here is our angle, and here's the right angle, or the 90-degree angle. We know that directly across from a 90-degree angle, right, where it kind of points to, is always going to be the hypotenuse. We know the angle that is directly opposite of your angle is going to be the opposite side. And the side length between your angle and the 90-degree angle is always what we call our adjacent side. So we have a value for the hypotenuse and we have a value for the opposite. So since we only have 2 lengths, we don't have a third length. We can't use Pythagorean theorem, but we can use our trigonometric functions. So now we just need to remember, well, which trigonometric function deals with opposite and hypotenuse and opposite? Well, if you forgot them, let's just go and list them out real quick. Sine of an angle is the relationship or the comparison of the opposite side over the hypotenuse. We have cosine of an angle is the comparison of how big is your adjacent side over your hypotenuse. And tangent of theta is the comparison of how big is the opposite side over the adjacent side. So again, we don't have anything for adjacent, right? So it's not going to be cosine or tangent. So it's going to be sine of theta. So we just simply type in the sine of 64 degrees is equal to the opposite, which is x, over the hypotenuse, which is 6.8. Now, to go ahead and solve, we're going to multiply by 6.8 on both sides, and I get x equals a 6.8 times the sine of 64 degrees. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I do not have my calculator with me. So I'm going to try. Where's my calculator here? Where'd my calculator go? I lost my calculator. Now I can't find my calculator. What the heck? I gotta have my calculator. I don't have a calculator? All right, is anybody gonna do this at home and we can post the answers, please? Anybody with a, oh, there it is. I was wanting to go crazy. I'm like, how did I lose my calculator? Aha. But I can't do a scientific on that, can I? Crap. Oh, dang it. 0.92. Mad Hup, you better not get this wrong. But hopefully that helps. Hopefully. I'll give it to them. All right, let's give it that one. All right, the next one. Antonio says, rewrite in exponential form. So I believe that's log base 7 of 49 equals 2, and 5 equals log base 2 of 32. All right, now a lot of times students forget exponential and logarithmic form. So the best equation that I always remember and that I always tell students to do is this one. 3 squared is equal to 9, right? We know 3 squared is equal to 9. Now, in logarithmic form, we know the base is going to be the same, right? So log base 3. Now, again, in this case, the power is now going to be what it's equal to. So that is going to be a 2 and then of 9. Because what a logarithm is saying is basically saying, what power do I need to take my base to be able to get my argument? So 3 raised to what number equals 9? And you can see the answer is going to be 2. So I just have these two like ingrained, memorized in my brain. All right. So if I look at this one and I say log base 7 of 49 is equal to 2, I know that's a logarithmic form. But if I want to rate this in exponential form, that would be a 7 squared is equal to a 49. Now, this next one can be confusing for students because they have 5 equals log base 2 of 32, right? But if you know that 2 raised to what number equals 32? Well, the answer is 5. So I know I can rewrite this in exponential form. Oh, what are you doing? So therefore, 2 raised to the 5th power equals a 32. All right, Sebastian says, I don't really understand how I can list all the 6 solutions. Solve the sine of 2 theta equals -1. Give the general solution for all the solutions. List the 6 solution. So it just says list 6, but we're going to find all the solutions first and then list 6 of them. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, rather than dealing with sine of 2 theta, I'm just going to say let x equals a 2 theta. Okay, we'll worry about the 2 theta in a second. Let's just use some, you could use u substitution, but we're just going to let x be it. I guess actually to be consistent, I'll use u. Okay, so we'll let u equals 2 theta. So now I have the equation sine of, not theta, sine of u is equal to a -1. Now again, sine of what angle is equal to a -1? Well, we need to have some idea here of the unit circle. This is a horrible unit circle, but that's okay. So when I'm saying the sine of what angle equals -1, basically tell me like when is my y coordinate going to equal a -1? I fit really small here. Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, I think I've like shrunken down. So sine of what angle when y is equal to -1? Well, that's going to be this point down here, 0, -1. So what angle is that? Well, that's going to be when u is equal to a 3 pi over 2. So u is equal to a 3 pi over 2. However, that is just one solution on the interval from 0 to 2 pi. How do I continue getting that solution? Well, you could go around the circle again, and you could also go in the opposite direction. You could go -2 pi, right? You get the solution, go -2 pi, -2 pi. So rather than saying plus or minus 2 pi infinite many times, we say, well, you could add a 2 pi, which is a revolution of that solution, and then n, where n is going to represent any integer, meaning it could be positive or it could be negative. All right, so that is our equation rough for our solutions for u. But remember, we let u equals 2 theta. So now we're going to say 2 theta is equal to a 3 pi over 2 plus a 2 pi n. And now to solve for theta, I'm going to divide by a 2. Let's use a different color, actually. 2 pi. So now I will divide by a 2. And I'll get theta equals a 3 pi. Remember, dividing by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/2. So that's going to be a 3 pi over 4 plus a pi. Okay, so that is going to be your solution. That's going to be a list for all of your solutions. Now, if you want to be able to list these 6 solutions, well, let's just go and list them out. So I have a 3 pi over 4. And just remember, guys, pi is the same thing as 4 pi over 4. Wouldn't you agree, right? Because 4 divided by 4 is just 1. So what I'm simply going to do is, can I add 3 pi over 4 plus 4 pi over 4? Yeah, you just keep the denominator the same, and then we're going to have a 7 pi over 4. Can I do it again? Of course. 11 pi over 4. We have a 15 pi over 4. And I'm just adding 4 on the top. 19 pi over 4 and a 23 pi over 4. Is that my 6 solutions? Yeah, there you go. All right. Void. I'm having trouble regarding how they algebraically represented that there's no x-intercept in problem 2. So we have graph f of x equals negative x squared, x minus 2 squared minus 1. Identify the vertex, x and y intercepts, axis symmetry. So yeah, it does open down. You can see that it doesn't cross the x-axis. So why is there no x-intercept? So that's going to come into right here. All right. Well, really the next step, which they didn't show. So if I negative x minus 2 quantity squared equals 1, right? And I divide by negative 1. So then up here, x minus 2 squared equals a negative 1, right? So why does this represent no solution? Well, the next step that you need to do to solve for x, right, would be to use the inverse operation. To undo multiplying by negative 1, we divide by negative 1. To undo squaring, what do we need to do? We need to introduce the square root on both sides. So when I do that, though, what's going to happen is, so I'll introduce the square root. And then I see under the real number system, I cannot take the square root of a negative number, right? The square root, it means that what number multiplied exactly by itself, like 2 times 2, right, is 4. The square root of 4 is 2. There's no number multiplied exactly by itself that gives negative 1 in the real number system. That's why this is an example of no solution in the real number system, and there's going to be no real x-intercept. All right. Chico Whale. I have a misunderstanding in these types of questions. It is said that the x-coordinate of a equals to 5/13, which means that cosine of this angle is 5/13. So when we draw the triangle on the unit circle, the central angle, which is theta, or whatever, the hypotenuse of the triangle, which is the angle inside of that, will be 13. So how is it 13? And it is in the unit circle have a radius of 1. In other words, the triangle must have sides less than 1 or equal to. Yes, that's true. I'm not really sure with all the questions, so let's kind of work on it. If the terminal side of an angle in standard position intersects the unit circle of a point A, which lies in the 4th quadrant where x is the coordinate, where the x coordinate of A equals 5/13. So my understanding is, so we're going to have a triangle, right? It's going to intersect the unit circle. Here's my A, right? Now it says terminal side of an angle in standard intersects the unit circle of point A. So that is on the unit circle. So you're right. There is a hypotenuse of 1. Now it says my x coordinate is 5/13, which is less than 1. So that makes sense, right? That can work. We know we have a right triangle. So that's going to create a triangle here. So now we just need to figure out what the y coordinate is, right? We know the x coordinate. So the x coordinate is 5/13. How do we find the y coordinate? Well, guys, remember, look, we have the Pythagorean theorem here. We have a right triangle. So I'm just going to say 5/13 squared plus y squared equals 1 squared. This becomes a 25/169 plus a y squared equals 1. Subtract that to the other side. I guess 25/169. Subtract a 25/169. I get a y squared is equal to 1 minus a 25/169. A lot of times this will confuse students, but just remember, guys, you can always rewrite 1 as 169/169. So y squared equals a 169/169 minus a 25/169. I don't know why 126 came in there. I can subtract that to be 144. So y squared equals 144. over 169, take the square root. Now again, these are positive, so I can take the square root, but remember when you introduce the square root, it's plus or minus. So y equals plus or minus a 12 over 13. Since y is in the fourth quadrant, we know that it's going to be a negative 12 over 13, which we can see is answer A. I thought this was an interesting problem. Find all the radian solutions. All right, so we have tangent of x times sine squared of x equals tangent of x. All right, so if I'm going to solve this, I'm going to get, I see I have tangent in common. So the first thing that makes sense to me is to get everything over to the same side. So when I do that, I have tangent of x sine squared of x minus a tangent of x is equal to 0. Now I'm thinking like quadratics. I'm thinking like factoring. What can I like extract out of here? And I see I can factor out a tangent x, right? They both share, both these terms separated by subtraction share a tangent of x. So I'm going to factor out the tangent of x. That's going to leave me with a sine squared of x minus 1 is equal to 0. Now I have a product equal to 0, so I can apply the 0 product property. So tangent of x is equal to 0, or sine squared of x. So we could say sine squared of x minus 1 is equal to 0. So now I can just use my inverse operations here to add 1, take the square root. So hopefully you see that sine of x equals plus or minus 1, right? Add 1, then take the square root of both sides. But just like it did in the previous problem, when you do take the square root, you got to include plus or minus. And then, so it's tangent of x equals 0, or sine of x equals plus or minus 1. Again, that or is very important, right? So now let's go and take a look at, because it could be one or the other or both. Because now let's go and look at the unit circle when these values are going to be true. So remember, tangent of an angle represents the y coordinate over the x coordinate, right? Tangent of an angle represents the y coordinate over the x coordinate. So we want to know when y over x is going to equal 0. It's kind of interesting, but let's look at some points here. What about this point? Oops, ran out of space. I knew it. That's why I kept on looking over here. I'm like, I'm going to run out of space eventually. Let me see. There we go. Haha, perfect. Okay. I use my blue. So tangent theta equals a y over x. So that's going to be 1 comma 0. So if I was to do that, it'd have y, which is the 0 over 1. So you can see how this one works. And then over here, this would work as well, because this is negative 1 comma 0, right? So therefore, we have two solutions in this case. We could have x is going to equal, now you could say 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, right? So the way to summarize that would be pi plus a pi n, where again, n represents any integer, positive or negative. And then over here, it's saying when sine is equal to plus or minus a positive 1. Well, that's going to be up here or over here, right? Because if you look at this point is 0 comma 1, sine is positive 1. And over this point, sine is equal to negative 1. Because remember, sine of theta equals your y coordinate. So for these solutions, I have x is equal to a pi halves plus a pi n. Because again, if here's your one solution, if you add pi to it, it goes here, add pi again, add pi. Or since n is an integer, you could subtract n, and n could be negative. But in reality, ladies and gentlemen, what we can see is all of these are just a quarter of pi away from each other. So my final solution is because the question was find all the radian solutions. That is just going to be x is going to equal a pi halves. That's kind of like my first solution. Well, actually, yeah, it doesn't really. Pi halves n, actually. Yeah, pi halves n. Because if n was 0, I would have 0, which is a solution, and then go from there. So that would be my final written solution. All right. So I see a lot of you guys posting questions. I'm like, dang, man, all of you guys coming once I get to my math, you guys are posting the questions. So if you do have a math question, I'll be doing this again tomorrow night on my pre-calculus channel. So hopefully you guys will be ready for some questions on that. I like this question. I'm not going to get to your, well, let me see. So, hey man, I'm lost on A, C, and D. I'm confused how I'd create an equation for the thick lines. I don't know what to do with the Y. So if you're watching the stream, I would just go exactly to this link that I created on Desmos. Or what I would do is also just type in these equations into Desmos and just try to see. So for A, that is actually going to be the inverse. Your Y and X are actually being swapped in that case. So here, your Y and X are being swapped. Here, this is actually a reflection about the x-axis, and then I believe it's shifted up 24 values. Because if you take this, the problem with B, actually not asking about B, but the problem with B is like it's not really graphed as correctly, I think, as it should be. So it can be kind of confusing. For C, if you take that graph and you reflect it about the x-axis, I think the asymptotes and everything's exactly the same. So there's no shifting you need to do. And then D. Remember, the difference here, this is the thing that I want you to know. Here's your square root of x, right? So that's going to be our parent graph. That looks something like this. If I do y equals negative square root of x, that is going to be a reflection. That's outside of the square root, right? Any operation outside the square root is going to be a horizontal transformation. Sorry. Anything outside the square root is going to be a vertical transformation. So y equals negative square root of x is going to be the exact same graph, but reflected about the x-axis. However, if I go ahead and take that negative and put it inside the square root, right? Horizontal transformations are, inside of the function are horizontal transformations. So therefore, you're going to take your original parent graph and it's going to look like that. That's why you can see that graph looks like there. So if I want it to look like this, all I simply do is reflect it on the inside to make it positive, and then reflect a negative on the outside, and then you can get down from there. So hopefully that helps you out, but I really think using Desmos is your best key here, and I would recommend using that link so you can kind of see what I did. All right, Bobby, I'm a 6th grader. Yippee, integration. I need some help with this problem. All right, Bobby, well, in 6th grade, man, congratulations. But let's give it a whirl. Integration. Haven't done this one in a very, very long time. Not since I've been teaching calculus. So this should be a little fun. All right. So I need to integrate definite integral on the interval from 1 to 4. And I have the rational expression 5x plus 4 divided by x squared plus 2x dx. All right. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is break up this rational function using partial fraction decomposition. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a 5x plus 4 divided by, I'm going to factor out this denominator here, because what I want to do is I want to take this rational function and I want to break it up into its parts. So I want to see how I can break that up, and x squared plus 2x, I could break that up into a x plus 2. And what you're thinking about with partial fraction decomposition is what two fractions would combine together to give you this. So it's kind of like that reverse operation here. So I don't know what the numerators would be, but I know if I was to add these two functions together, if I had like a over x plus ab over x plus 2, right? If I had like two fractions, I had to get common denominators, which would be x times x plus 2, and then I need to be able to figure out what my a and b are going to be. So one way to be able to identify our a and our b would be to, first, we need to get rid of our denominators. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply everything times a x times x plus 2. When I do that, I'm now going to have a 5x plus 4 is equal to, so if I multiply that times that, those denominators divide out, x times x plus 2 over that, that's going to leave me with a times a x plus 2. And, oh, I did run out of space. So there you go. All right. And then x times x plus 2 over x plus 2, the x plus 2s are going to divide out. So that's going to leave me with a b times x. All right, so now we need to identify what our values for a and b are going to be. So one way we can go and do that is identify some values for x. So what I want to do is I want to find some values for x that would eliminate one of the variables, and then I can solve for the other. So for instance, what if I let x equal a -2? If x equals a -2 here, -2 plus 2 is going to be 0. 0 times a is going to be 0, and then I can just solve for b. So I'll say the first one, I'll be let x equal a -2. So then I plug that in. So we have a 5 times -2 plus 4 equals a times -2 plus 2 plus ab times a -2. That's going to be -10. -10 plus 4 is going to be a -6. -2 plus 2 is 0. 0 times a is just going to be 0. So therefore, that's going to be a -2b. Divide by -2. Divide by -2. B is equal to a 3. All right. So we got the first one out of the way. Let's do the next one. What about if I let x equal to 0? So if I say let x equal 0, now let's do the thing all over again. So I'll do a 5 times 0 plus 4 equals a times 0 plus 2, right? Yeah. Plus 2 plus a b times 0. That goes to 0. That's going to become 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 times a, 2a. And 5 times 0 is 0. So I have a 4 equals a 2a. Divide by 2, divide by 2. A is equal to a 2. Okay, so now I can break this up here. Now it's going to kind of work on actually doing the integration. So I can break this up into my partial fraction decomposition with a being 2 and b being a 3. So I can break it up like this. So now I can rewrite this as a is 2, right? So 2 over ax plus a, what was it, 3, 4 to 1, as a 3 over ax plus 2, right? So since I have two separate now rational functions, I can now break it up, the integral, I can now break it up for each rational function from on there. Now, I also recognize if that I'm going to be dealing with taking the integral of a reciprocal function. So that means my 2 and 3 are both going to be scalar constants. So I can take them outside of the integral. So therefore I have a 2, let's put it as 1 to 4 over a 1 over x. And then over here, I can bring that up, but then also I can see that I'm going to use, again, some u substitution. I'm going to say let u equals ax plus 2. So yes, I am going to take the 3 on the outside out. But now what I'm going to do is I'm taking the integral of that. I'm going to have that as a 1 over a u. Okay? So now I just need to understand, because now these are in a very similar form, that if I want to take the integral of the reciprocal function, I know now that's going to be my natural logarithm in this case. So I am now, oops, I forgot to write my dx. Holy crap. Got to be mathematically sound. Right? Okay. So now let's go ahead and just take the integrate on both sides, and then we'll do the definite integral from on there. So make sure you include the dx. I got everything. I'm going to be using u substitution for here. So therefore I have a 2 on the outside. This is going to be the ln of x. And that's going to be interval of 4 to 1. And that's going to be plus a 3. And that's going to be ln of u. And that's going to be on that integral of 4 to 1. Oh, wait. Wow, dang it. Where am I writing this? Yeah. I have too many parentheses going on there. Ln there on the integration of 4 to 1. Rather. Okay. So now we've integrated. Now what we need to do is go ahead and identify this definite integral on this on the limit, the lower limit and the upper limit. So basically what we're simply going to do is just plug in these values in for there and subtract the upper limit from the lower limit. So now I'm going to have a 2 times a ln of 4 minus a ln of 1 plus a 3 times a ln of 4. Oops, don't forget, it's not 4, right? it's 4 plus 2, because remember, you're plugging 4 into u. So when you plug it into u, it's actually x plus 2, so it's going to be a 6. I almost forgot myself. So that's going to be ln of 6 minus a ln of 1 plus 2 is a 3. Okay, so now what do you recognize is I can go ahead and use some logarithmic properties, right? Remember, when you have the ln subtracted by another ln, you can just divide your arguments. So in this case, I can simplify this to a ln of 4 divided by 1 plus here a 3 times a ln of 6 over 3. Now this will be simplified to a 4. So you have a 4 ln of 4 plus a 3, and 6 divided by 3 is just going to be 2. So 3 ln of 2. Now a lot of students will say, all right, well, we're kind of done here, right? We're good. But because you can't really add these because you have to have the argument be exactly the same. But since this is a 4 and this is a 2, a lot of students might say, maybe oh, yes, I did forgot the second integral d for the second integral. Thank you so much. Dang it, Daref. I knew I was going to make a mistake. Good catch. Yes. Thank you. T2 times ln of 4. But here I can rewrite the 4 as squared. So this would be a 2 ln of 2 squared plus a 3 ln of 2. And then using the properties of logarithms, I can multiply that across or multiply that to the front. So therefore it's a 4 ln of 2 plus a 3 ln of 2. 4 plus 3 is going to be a 7 ln of 2. Voila. All right. I think that was my first question I was going to have. Yeah. All right, man. Now you guys got me like going. Now I'm like all not ready to go to bed. Yeah, I gotta keep my calc. One of the things when I stepped away from class, I'm like, man, I just want to, because I was actually talking to an older teacher. I was talking to an older teacher, and that I used to teach with, and I was like, oh, is so and so like still teaching calc? And he's like, yeah, she's still there. And I'm like, dang. I'm like, I guess I got out when I got out, because I mean, I love teaching pre-calculus, but it kind of got boring. I was just doing the same course over and over, and he taught AP stats, and like, that's all he teaches. And he loves it. And I only taught calculus for 2 years, but I think the thing I loved about calculus was like this unrelenting amount of information that you would constantly be keeping you relevant and having to do and challenging yourself. And I kind of knew the writings on the wall, like, I'm never going to teach calculus as long as she's here, because she was a really, really good teacher. And I'm like, I'm never going to teach calculus. So I'm just going to be, and I'm like, I'm really bored teaching all this kind of stuff. And sure enough. So I was like, oh, well, if I step away from classroom, I can focus more on doing calculus and stuff like that. But then I realized, holy crap, I don't have much time to be doing a lot of those content on my own. Life gets busy, but I do need to be getting back into, could you look back at mine? I do need to get back and doing some of my calculus. I'm not sure if what you're referring to, your problem, or you're looking at the question you submitted. I don't know. I'll see which questions I have submitted. I'm not going to be able to get to. Could you explain everything about bearing on AP pre-calculus? No, probably not at this time, but I'll go and take a look at your question. That's a good question. The fire spotted. Yeah, I'll do that. I can do that for a next live stream on my pre-calculus live stream, which again, for those of you guys who are interested, I'll be going live in my pre-calculus channel, and that'll be tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're interested, I hope to see you guys over there. No, my problem. I know. Oh, you want me to go to your problem? Okay. I don't know what your question is though. So let me know which question you have on yours. But yeah, I will be doing a live stream. I'm going to take some pre-calculus problems that you guys have submitted, and as well as I'll have some more opportunity for you guys to go ahead and submit some questions. And that will be more focused on doing math, preparing you guys, rather than just answering questions and so on for those. Because aren't pi halves plus pi n solutions extraneous? Uh, well, in terms of, you mean like, because pi, if you had pi m, because this would not work for that one. And yeah, that'd be the case. But again, in this solution, when you have the zero product property, it should be a or solution. So it's either this solution or it could be that solution, because that's what the zero product property teaches, shows us, is it's going to be inclusive. It's going to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be satisfy both of these solutions. Um, so that's why that one would work from on there. All right. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to sign off, but next week I will be going live again at 9 p.m. So I look forward to seeing you guys on that live stream. And then also, if you're looking into doing some math for pre-calculus, I'll see you guys on tomorrow night's stream. That will be on the pre-calculus channel. All right, guys. I will see you then. Cheers.